Hey everybody, this is Michael Bryson for This is Bodybuilding, and I'm here with 212 IFBB Pro Derik Oslan. How's it going, Derik?
Sir. Hey, it's going awesome, man. This is I'm first of all, thank you for reaching out to me and wanting to have me on. I've been hoping you were doing this that you would do this for a while. So I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Well, yeah. I'm thankful that you agreed to do it. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Absolutely. And plus, it's been a while since we've had a lengthy sit down like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a good deal to talk about and catch up on.
Absolutely. I think I met you, I think it was 2015 at the New York 16 at the New York Pro. Was it in the audience?
It was, yes, we met briefly then, but our first real lengthy discussion, because you were walking by me at the New York Pro, and yes. I tapped you and introduced myself.
Yes.
But our first lengthy discussion was at the Eastern USAs.
Yes. And that was the first time I saw you compete.
Yes.
Eastern USAs, that was a big show for like the current crop of young guys, and actually now 212, because George was actually classic.
He was classic.
But now you're both top 212 guys. You won light heavyweight?
Yep, I won light heavyweight and the overall at that show, and George won the overall and classic.
He won overall for classic, and then you both went on to nationals.
Yep.
And won and turned pro. Yeah, that was awesome stuff. You have. It's kind of cool when I think about the first time I met you. You tapped me on the shoulder as someone that had followed my page, and knew who I was. I didn't know who you were. I knew you as a follower, actually. I think I've seen your likes and such. And now here today, I'm the fan interviewing the pros. So it's really cool.
All right, I appreciate that. We're still friends at the end of the day. That's how I see it. So, but that a sentiment I do appreciate. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, it's been a pleasure really watching you develop too, man. When I first saw you, it was clear you had like shape, the muscle bellies and everything to be a good pro, but the size and the way that you've progressed has been very impressive.
Thank you. It hasn't been easy. I don't want to say it's come easy. It's required a lot of work and typical things: work, dedication, patience, and moving a lot of weight for a very long time.
Yeah, and you've done it. Your progression's been smart. Like you haven't. I'm glad that you're like still a 212 guy, and you've treated your physique well, it seems, and your health well.
Absolutely. We keep, from a health standpoint, we definitely keep a tight rein on that, making sure all the general markers that tend to go awry for bodybuilders stays in check. Being smart with my training. Obviously I have, my coach Will that does my nutrition for me. And then the most important thing is just surrounding myself with two things: a strong support system in friends and, my now fiance, Anastasia, and people who are much smarter than I am. So I very much value and cherish learning and intellectual progression as much as progressive overload. So that has allowed me to be able to handle different variables in my own bodybuilding journey with much more poise and solid decision making. And then that also helps me with my own clients as well, being a coach now myself. So all of that together has led to quite the incredible journey. And I'm very grateful. Very grateful to be in the position that I am.
How did you come to bodybuilding? What brought you to the sport?
Okay. So the 30-second version of the early stages was, I think I've said this on my Instagram before in various posts, but you know, I was the skinny kid that got picked on and bullied in school, and enough to where I got tired of dealing with it. And when I was 13, that was 2001, my dad bought me a gym membership for Christmas, and it was a complete surprise. I had no idea I was getting it, and that in my head, I was like, this is where my life will completely change. I can take control and flip this whole thing upside down. I don't have to worry about people putting their hands on me anymore, any of that. And if they do, I will be equipped to be able to protect myself and defend myself. That was my initial motivation for getting into the gym, and the driving energy force that propelled me forward for, you know, however many years. Fast forward to 2014. Well, actually 2013. I was dating a girl at the time, and I was finishing up my degree, and we were having a conversation, and she was like, "Oh, you know, you spend all this time in the gym, you're doing all this stuff. Like, what's the, you know, you're working out all the time, you're regimented with your eating, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, what's the next step? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? Have you," and she didn't, it's funny because she didn't really know anything about bodybuilding, but she threw that out there. Like, you know, have you ever thought about doing, like some sort of bodybuilding competition?
Right.
Or
because it's not a normal people don't do that, you know, the diet, the workouts, regimen.
Right. Right. So she was like, you know, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I don't know. I never really thought about it. Then I would say probably like 6 months later, one of my buddies that I trained with, he introduced me to Powerhouse Gym in New Haven, Connecticut. It's the first bodybuilding gym that I had ever been to. So before that, I always worked.
Is that where you grew up and were raised, Connecticut?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Lowell, Massachusetts. I ended up moving to Connecticut when I was 8. My mom had a job transfer that, you know, we ended up moving. She found a house out there, bought a house there, and we moved. And then so I was in Connecticut. It's a long story because like my dad was still in Massachusetts, so like there were years that I spent living with him. There were years that I spent living with my mom. But I was blessed and lucky enough to have both parents in my life, even though they weren't together. So even though they weren't in a relationship, I was never deprived of either one. So, you know, so that was good. But when I started bodybuilding, I was living in Connecticut at the time. Yes. So he introduced me to Montanari Powerhouse, and he's like, "Yo, you got to come check out this gym. It's so awesome, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, I put it off like 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm a very much a creature of habit. I don't like breaking away from my routine too much. But one day I was like, you know what? All right, let's take this drive. It was like a 40-minute drive. I'm like, let's go check it out. And I walked in, and the first person that I see is Evan Centopani, like in his prime. Wow, so, yeah. And he was wearing, that had to be like a XXX or quadruple X hoodie. And I could see all of his arm vascularity through the hoodie.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is this? And like, I think the stars were just like perfectly aligned that night, because every single person that was in that gym was gigantic that night. There were no normal people in the gym at all. Everybody was a bodybuilder. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. I'm the small fish again. So I met the owners of the gym. I met Kenny Wallach, and they introduced me to the guy who was the posing coach. I mean, the prep coach in the gym at the time. And I was like, I don't know anything about bodybuilding, but I want to do a show because I feel like that is going to help me figure out what the next step in my physique is going to be. And he was like, all right, cool. And then that's how it started. That's how it started. And it just took off from there. And I caught the bug.
Was your first show the 2015 Eastern USAs?
No, my first show. All right. So without naming any names, my first coach, the person I just mentioned in the story, he did not really educate me on what a proper bodybuilding prep was. All I knew is that when I joined the gym, there was a show like 6 weeks later. And I was like, I want to do that show. And he was like, all right, cool. And I paid him and he prepped me for 6 weeks for that show. I had no business being up there at all. Conditioning wise, although like a bag of milk. But what I got from that was, okay, I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, I see why I placed last. I placed dead last in the show. I'm like, I can see why, but I don't look like a complete schmuck. Like, I at least look like I have something going on. Like I kind of belong. I just need to get better. Okay. That was the whole point of this in the first place. So let's get back to work. Let's keep getting better. And then I ended up doing another show 10 weeks later. I did another show 4 weeks after that. So that's April, 2 shows in June. Then I did one in August and I did one in October. Again, no one told me how this was supposed to work. I just picked things and I did them.
Right.
The second coach that I got, Gordon, which is the one that you met at the Eastern USA, is Gordon Falsetti. He was the one that really broke this down for me and really showed me what bodybuilding was supposed to be.
Right.
And that's where everything really, leapt forward very quickly for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Gordon, what was the first show that he coached, that he was your coach for?
The 5th one that I did in 2014. So 2014 was my first year competing. The 5th one, it was the East Coast Cup in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first show. I had linked up with him about 10 weeks prior to that. So we did not go into that show with the intention of winning. We went into that show with the intent of kind of starting to reveal what my potential could be so that I could see it for myself and that it would put us in a good position going into an off season to, go through a proper rebound phase and really focus on putting on the size that I needed. So that's what we were trying to get from that experience. And it gave him an opportunity to learn about me pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that was our intent with that show. And then we went into an off season. So in that first year, I did 5 shows.
Wow.
2 of them I got dead last. 1 I didn't place. And then I got a 4th and a 2nd.
Was that the last of the shows?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a progression. That's great.
So, and then we went into an off season. My very first show in 2015, I ended up winning my first overall. And then things just started happening.
Yeah, Easterns, you did really well that year too, right?
I got second. Second in that show. Yep.
And after that, did you do anything in 2016 prior to Easterns or no? You took a year.
Yes, I did. I did the New England Championships, which was a Jay Cutler show in Boston. Okay. I competed as a heavyweight in that show, and I ended up getting second. And then I dropped 5 pounds in 3 weeks. Did Easterns, won the overall, and then went on to nationals to win my pro card.
Awesome. Was the goal always to become a pro?
No, not at all. My
progression to watch yourself improve.
All I wanted to know was, what was I capable of? What was my potential? I had no aspirations of turning pro. I had no aspirations of going to the Olympia. None of that. It was just, how do I navigate this? How do I figure out how to keep getting better? And what does better look like for me? The only thing that's been important to me, I shouldn't say the only thing that's been important, but the most important thing to me was creating something that when I look in the mirror, I can be happy.
Right.
And I can say, I love what I see. Right. So and the reason why that's so important to me is because I spent so much of my younger years hating the way I looked and hating how I looked created such a strong perception of who I was to other people that was inaccurate. And I hated it. I hated that my look made me an easy target. I hated that my look made me judged, and I wanted to change it. So this whole bodybuilding journey for me up until recently has been purely about loving myself. It just so happened that what I wanted and how I was developing it also happened to be in line with what a bodybuilding judge would want on stage.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
So I competed, and I fell in love with the competition aspect of it because I did do sports, when I was a kid. So, that wanting to continually, win has never left me, but that was not the most important thing. It just kind of manifested because all I wanted to do was just love myself. That was it. And me getting to the Olympia, I know I might be jumping forward with, the questions that you had, but me getting into the Olympia this past year, I needed a stamp, a tangible thing that I could look at myself and say, I accomplished this goal. I can close this chapter in my life. That's an energy that I don't need to tap into anymore. So I figured making it to the Olympia and being ranked one of the best bodybuilders in the world, in addition to, oh shit.
I lost you. There you go.
Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, did I unplug my charger? Oh, that's why. Okay. No, it said I had low battery. So that's why it blanked for a second. Hold on.
No worries.
Somehow. Oh, all right, we're good.
Oh.
So me getting to the Olympia was me being able to say that I have a beautiful fiance. I'm surrounded by friends. I have a gym with members that genuinely care about the gym and care about us, and they want to see us succeed as much as they want to see themselves. I'm surrounded by everything that I did not. My life is completely opposite of what it was when I was a kid in terms of my immediate bubble. Like, obviously, my family always loved me. They were always supportive and all of that. But outside of my family, I didn't have that.
Right.
So now I have all of those things that I wanted when I was a kid. And I was able to take and grab it with my own hands. So going from that skinny kid that was bullied, hated himself, had no self-worth, low self-esteem, depression, and all of that, to being on a world stage ranked as one of the best bodybuilders on the planet, and being able to do it surrounded by people that love me and care about me, that's what it was about. Yeah. That's what it's always been about. So when I got off the stage, I could calmly say, and with pure love in my heart, I did it. I did it. I completely flipped my life upside down, and I love myself.
That's
and I
awesome.
love my life.
That's awesome. I think with competitors, it's people who don't, you're a competitor, you want to win, of course, right? But
of course,
I think many competitors don't necessarily have the most healthy for themselves mindsets. Perhaps in order to achieve what they're going to achieve and have achieved and will continue to achieve, it's necessary for them, those individuals. But the happiness there is lacking, I think, whereas I remember speaking to you at the Olympia, you had satisfaction. That was Thursday night at the meet and greet.
Yes.
There was already satisfaction within you to be there, still the goals were there to do well, but of course you can tell there's a happiness and a joy with you. And that's I think key.
I'm gonna be honest. Because I haven't really said this to anyone outside of my circle, if you will. If I had made it to the Olympia and placed dead last, I still would have been just as happy. Now, anyone that asks me, obviously, I'm at the Olympia. Like, if I have a chance to get in the first call out and compete for a win, obviously, I'm not going to be upset about that. I'm coming for it. But at the same time, if I play 16th out of 16, I'm still the 16th best bodybuilder on the planet. To look at it in a different way, let's look at something completely different, like restaurants or quarterbacks in the NFL, or like top WWE stars. If we look at the whoever is ranked 16th in the Hall of Fame of the WWE, they're probably iconic and legendary.
Right, exactly. Right. This is yeah. With the Olympia, I've always felt this way, and I've said this to others, and I probably even said it in a podcast, is that, you know, guys who place in the single digits, or girls who place in the single digits, whatever division it is, of the Olympia, you're placing in the single digits, or even the top 10. You're the elite of the elite of what you do. And for a fan, like growing up, always just watching bodybuilding, anyone that was in the single digits in the Olympia, I thought was just, you know, a superstar. You know, it's humongous.
Yes.
But when you speak to some of those people who have placed 5th or 4th, or, you know, never made it to the top 3 or 2nd, or never won, there is such deep dissatisfaction in some of them that I kind of feel bad about, because I mean, I understand they need that thing that pushes them forward, but at the end of the day, when the career is done, and that could end with a pec tear tomorrow on anyone, you know what I mean?
Yep.
If you're left with just the dissatisfaction that you never won the Olympia, when there's really only 16 guys who have ever done that in the history, you're not a failure. You know what I mean? Like, you've accomplished great things. Because to be in the place that you're at, you know, when you're 8th in the world, right? Your story is motivating and inspiring to many people. So what you're doing is, it can't be considered a failure, you know?
Absolutely not. And I think the people, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a psychological expert or anything, but this is just my opinion. The people who feel that way, that distaste, I think that's the word you use, their value in the journey is placed in the thing. It's not from within themselves, right? So when bodybuilding is life, and bodybuilding is the only thing you have, and so I'm reading a book currently by, her name is Dr. Carol Dweck. The name of the book is called Mindset. So basically she talks about how people can fit into pretty much 2 categories from a mindset perspective: a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Fixed mindset means that whatever you were born with is what you have, right? So if we're talking about intelligence, for example, like however smart you are, your ability to learn or grasp new things, that's what you got. It can't get worse and it can't get better. That's it. People with a growth mindset can say, okay, I'm at this level now, but I can raise that level over time. Or if we're going to take sports for an example, if you are great at football, then you're great at football. You have the talent, right? And it can't get better, it can't get worse. You either have it or you don't. But people with the growth mindset can say, oh, I'm Tom Brady, I got drafted in the 7th round. Let's see what happens. Maybe I can get better. And then they become the greatest quarterback in the world.
Right.
The people who feel the way that you were just describing, in my opinion, have a fixed mindset. Their validation is in the result.
Right.
Not in the process and in the growth. So without anything to validate them, they fall into this pit of emotional despair, as opposed to saying, I made it to the Olympia. Out of the hundreds of pros that had tried to do this, or thousands, or whatever the number is, you know, I'm one of just a few. Like there is honor in that. Obviously, we all want to win. We all, like, you know, I placed 8th in the Olympia. If I make it to the Olympia, when I make it to the Olympia this year, obviously I want to do better. Right. But if I make it to the Olympia and place 10th this year, even though I placed 8th last year, you think I'm gonna go home and like boohoo cry, and I'm gonna be like, dude, I'm still top 10. Like, celebrate, like, you know. And I'm gonna get back in the lab, and I'm gonna go and try to get better. Because for me, it's not the as much as I want to win and do well, the placing doesn't validate me. My effort in the journey is what validates me.
Right. There's lessons learned along the way like
Mm-hmm.
that you can hold on to and keep forever. Whereas if the only thing that you're concentrating on is the Sandow or the 212 championship, and you don't get it, then you've all the stuff that happened in between, you know, from the time you started to that moment when you fail, it was all for nothing. You know, there's no growth that happens.
Well, I mean, let's look at it this way. If I had the fixed mindset when I placed last in my first show, that would have been it.
Exactly.
Nothing after that ever happens. Me and you never connect. This meeting,
Right.
this interview, this podcast never happens. I never make it to, who knows what I would be doing.
Exactly.
And so my whole, literally the culmination of my life is simply because I decided I want to be better for me.
Yeah, that's great.
And that was it. And that manifested into this beautiful life that I wouldn't change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Your fiance, also very talented.
Yes.
She's very good.
Not only is she talented, but she has put on a lot of muscle over the last, what has it been? 6 months? Is that how long you were? Yeah. So she's very talented. She's put on a lot of muscle this year. I'm very, very excited for her. I think the coolest thing about where she's at right now is how much she's grown mentally as a bodybuilding athlete. So just her attitude, you know, with executing her meals, attitude towards the training, training critiques, rep execution, the intensity she brings to her sets, everything has completely evolved to a whole new level. And I'm privileged enough to get to see it, you know, daily. You know, she has her own thing that she does. I have my own thing that I do, but we're doing it together. So we both get to see each other. So just that evolution, to be able to watch it and see it unfold and be a part of it. Just, you know, I've been helping her with her training pretty much the whole time. Has been really cool. So that's awesome.
As a couple who are both competitors, do you feel, and I have an idea what the answer will be, but do you ever feel competitive with one another? Or just supportive?
Yes and no. Yes and no. When it comes to the actual competitions themselves, no. When we're in the gym, she's very strong. She's very strong, and not strong for like a chick. She could lift most men under the table. And so like if I see her on a lift and she's starting to creep like closer than I would like to the totals that I do, then I'm like, all right, I need to simmer this shit down and let people know what's going on before it gets out of hand. So in that sense, like, you know, for me, I'm just like, I need to keep a distance of strength between us because I'm not allowing that to happen. And then on the flip side, she's like, well, I'm going to keep chasing you because I'm going to keep getting stronger. Right. So it's just, so from that sense, we are competitive, but it makes us both better.
That's great.
So, but like, it's not, we're not competitive in the sense of, ooh, who's going to do better at their shows. Like that has never been a thing from the show standpoint. It's pure support and nothing else.
Yeah, good. Because I think there have been couples in the industry that have suffered from, you know, one doing better than the other and it hurting an ego on the other side, you know, but
well, again, that comes back to, you know, is bodybuilding life or is it just a part of your life? Right. So for us, it's a big part, but it's just a part. You know, we still coach clients. We run a gym together. There's a lot of things that we do together. And there's a lot of other ways to measure our progression in life than just our placings at shows. So we have so many other things that make up who we are as people that we don't have to be that one-upping couple, because there are areas that she excels in that she helps me get better at. And then there's areas that I excel in and help her get better at. And we know our lanes and we've accepted that. And that's why we work so well together.
Right. That's great.
Mhm.
This year for yourself,
Yes.
what shows who are you working with, by the way? Who's your
So,
coaches? Team?
My nutrition coach, his name is Will Castillo. He is the owner of Flex Appeal in Miami, the original Flex Appeal. And he's obviously one of our business partners in the Flex Appeal that we have here in Tampa. So he does my nutrition. John Meadows, I brought him on to do my training.
How many shows have you worked with John Meadows?
So I did mountain dog training the year that I won my pro card, actually. So I spent a part of 2015 and all of 2016 and half of 17 just doing mountain dog training. And then that was when I started working with Matt, and I started following, more of what he wanted me to do. And then I kind of then I started following Jordan Peters, and I spent about 2 years following his training protocols, and that's probably where I got the strongest and the quickest development in my physique. And then I started working with John. I feel like there's more to your question, so I'm gonna hold off with the rest I was gonna say as to what led me back to John, but okay. I feel like there was more that you wanted to say.
No, you were fine.
Oh, okay.
I was asking about who you're working with for this show, for this season. But
yes,
you can talk about John all you want. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. So, because a lot of people have asked me, like, oh, why did you abandon Jordan Peters' training? I'm assuming you know who Jordan is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, Jordan Peters is a bodybuilder out of the UK and probably one of the strongest and biggest people I've ever seen in my entire life. And one of the most intelligent. So if you guys aren't following him, do so. Anyway, so people have been like, oh, why did you abandon Jordan Peters' training methods for John's? And it's like, I didn't, because John's programming is very similar. The only difference is that John uses a little bit more volume. And what I realized last year with all of the size that I had put on is that there's another level of density that I could bring to my physique. With all the strength that I have compiled, I felt like volume accruement over time was the best way to kind of level up to the next step. So can I use this strength and then be able to use it for longer, multiple times throughout the session instead of like 1 or 2 sets per movement, right? Mm-hmm. So I did not. So I had always done my own training programming for the last 2 years, 3 years. I did not trust myself to do that volume accumulation intelligently for myself, because I'm a 0 to 100 guy. I would have went from 1 to 2 working sets per movement to 4. And just like across the board. And I would just been like, I'm going to beat myself into the ground, period, the end. So I knew that wasn't the right way to do it. So I was like, I need to find someone who knows more about this than I do and do it for me so that I know how to do it. And that's why I brought on John. So he did my programming for this year, and I will be following that programming for the entirety of the year. Additionally, I was lucky enough to have Dr. Scott Stevenson. I don't know if you follow him. He did Fortitude training. He's the author of Fortitude training.
Okay, I'm really not familiar with him.
So if you look him up on Instagram, his Instagram is at Fortitude Training. To put it simply, if there was a Mount Rushmore of bodybuilding intellectuals, I would put Scott on that, with like Dante Trudel and John Meadows, and I don't know who I'd put in that 4th slot, but those 3 would definitely be up there. So I've been training with him for the duration of this prep. So in short, I have a really solid team around me right now that is really driving me forward. So it's really cool.
Awesome. What's the show you have picked out to start the show?
I am currently 2 weeks and a day out from the Indy Pro, and then I'm doing New York in Tampa, awesome. New New Yampa, whatever you want to call
it. Yeah, I really wanted to go to New York, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. Not go to Tampa for the New York Pro.
Right.
I did it last year. I really wanted to do it this year, but I just think it's not going to work out for me financially this time around. But man, it's going to be a great show.
Okay. I'll talk to you more about that. I'll talk to you more about that off camera. But okay, no, that makes sense. Which
I mean,
was last year the first one that you missed?
Yeah, since 2012, I think I've been to them all.
That's shitty.
Yeah, man, it's my favorite show. Well, of course, I was in New York from 2012 till this past year, so it was the easiest show for me to go to. But it just also happened to be the third biggest show in the country, next to the Olympian Arnold. So it was great to be able to go to. I was always going to that, the Arnold and the Olympia. So this year, though, there's a new show that's going to be happening in Texas, actually, in the Dallas area.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Texas Pro. Yeah.
I'll definitely go
August.
to that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I picked Indy in New York. The goal is to try and get the Olympia qualification. I don't know if this is arrogant, me saying it this way, but that's not what I'm trying to do, but whatever.
It's not arrogant.
I'm going to these shows to win. Fuck everybody else. My goal is to try and get this Olympia qualification done early so that I can have a few months off to let my body fully recover and like mentally just relax a little bit so that I can go into the Olympia in October fresh. So last year I started dieting for shows in January. From January, the Olympia was in December. The only break.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was going to say it was interesting though that was your best look ever. Was that?
I know
the Olympia. I thought it was going to be worn out because you did. How many shows did you do? Before?
I did. Okay, so I technically did 3, including the Olympia. But that's what I was saying. So I started prepping in January for May shows. Then when the first show that got canceled was, I think it was Puerto Rico. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was 4 weeks out from Puerto Rico. Then I was like, all right, I'll do New York. That was 6 weeks out, canceled. Then I was like, all right, what's the next one? Boston, 5 weeks out, canceled. So like I got within striking distance, weight-wise, conditioning-wise, all that shit for 3 shows before I finally got to compete in the 4th one, which was Tampa, which didn't, change. It didn't get moved. It ended up happening exactly how it was scheduled. So then I did Tampa. Then I did the rescheduled New York Pro, which also happened in Tampa. And then the Olympia, which I qualified on points.
Right. And that was the best you ever looked.
Yes. I don't. That was also the hardest. So that 14-week period between New York and the Olympia, that was the hardest prep I've ever done in terms of how shitty I felt overall, how much cardio I had to do, how little food I had to eat. That was the worst I've ever felt during a prep, ever. But like you said, it ended up being my best showing ever. Like who would have thought?
Yeah.
So that's what I need to do. I just need to surround myself with stress and cardio and more stress, and then like I'm gonna go throw. You know what? I'm throwing all my food out right now. I'm going into the fridge. I'm throwing out Anastasia's food too, because if I don't eat, she don't eat. And you should see the look she's giving me right now. Yeah. And that's it. And that's how I'm gonna win the Olympia. I'll go outside and eat a pine. I'll go outside and eat a pine cone from time to time if I if I'm really hurting.
How do you feel? You're like 2 weeks out from Indy Pro or 3?
2 weeks. 2 weeks in a day. Yes.
Okay. And the picture that you posted the other day, was it yesterday? What day it was. It was the back shot.
The one that you posted?
That I reposted, yeah.
That was like from a week or 2 ago.
Okay. Your conditioning looked really good for them, don't you think?
Thank you. Yes. We are always our worst critics, and we are always the hardest on ourselves. And I still, even, I shared my story with you and kind of what motivated me to kind of push forward this far. Even I, as a professional bodybuilder, and I think not too many people talk about this because they want to always portray this. I'm invulnerable to everything. I'm superhuman, blah, blah, blah. Even I have moments where I just don't see myself the same way that everyone else sees me. So what you saw was impressive. What I saw was I'm not ready yet.
Right.
I still have a little bit here. I still have a little bit there, and I still got to do this. And I need to add more pronated rows to get my rhomboids, or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of hard for me in the moment and in the process to step back and just say, wow. Mm-hmm. But I think I had that first moment for myself like a few days ago, where the progress pictures I posted like 2 days ago, that was when I looked at myself and I said, ooh, okay, all right, where something special is about to happen. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it for myself and kind of step away.
In the picture that I reposted, I don't know if you saw the comments, but Barry DeMay's
I saw some of them.
Barry DeMay's brother commented, "Well, I see
no shit."
He commented, "Oh, I see a Barry DeMay Christmas tree starting to emerge," or something like that.
Oh.
So that's pretty impressive.
That's nice. I'll go back and look at all the comments and reply to everybody. Yeah, I didn't see that one.
I was happy that he took, because sometimes Jorgen DeMay is not always the most complimentary guy. He's been a follower of mine for a while.
Yeah,
he's very cool, but he calls it like he sees it. So
yeah, he's very, very blunt, which I appreciate, because that's how I am.
Yeah. Barry
personally.
is a huge, tremendous gentleman. Not that Jorgen isn't, but Barry is.
Yeah, you better clean that up before he watches this podcast.
They're both gentlemen, but Barry is all positivity. Have you ever met Barry DeMay?
I have not. No.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Obviously, I know who he is and know about his career and all that. But yeah,
for you, I've been talking to the last 3 people who I've interviewed, were Terrence Ruffin, mm-hmm. Rachel Daniels, and Alyssa Kiesling. Mm-hmm. And we talked about posing with all of them. For you, how important is presentation and posing for the show?
It could be the difference between winning and losing. End of story. As far as so just as an example, like I'm pretty much going through my posing twice a day, once in the morning after my cardio, and then I have Scott, who I mentioned earlier, run me through, usually 2 rounds after I train. So I strategically picked the times where I am the most tired and worn out and just mentally not totally clear. That's when I drill my posing, because if I can do it in my worst state, then when I get on stage, it's going to be cake.
Right.
Because I'm going to feel my best and I'm going to look my best.
Right.
So, I think that a lot of guys and girls, they spend way too little time on their presentation, and they worry too much about how do I best time what's the best time of day to eat fish? Like, should I eat it at 9 a.m. or should I eat it at 3 p.m.? Is it going to affect my anabolic window if I do 2:30 instead of 3:30? Just eat your food, train hard, do your cardio, and pose properly. Because you can have the best physique on stage and then completely ruin everything by just not knowing how to present it.
Yeah, I've seen that lots of times too. Guys who I thought, man, this guy looks great before a show. I look at their physique, and then they get on stage and blow it, you know, by not presenting it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we've seen that at the amateur and at the pro level, and
Yeah.
like, and I just, that part I don't understand. Like, that shouldn't even be an issue at our level. But you know, whatever. If they don't want to think it's important, fine. Make it not important to you. Make it easier for me to win. Don't practice. Don't practice.
I remember several times hearing Dorian Yates talk about how he hated posing. It was the thing that was the least attractive to him about bodybuilding. He didn't care about getting on stage in a pair of underwear and posing. He loved just the process, the process of building the muscle, dieting down, and looking like a freak. But as an intelligent individual, he knew in order to win, he must be good at posing. So you must practice those things, and it's really all important because that's what it is. That's how you win, is by presenting it.
If you love the process, you love all the process, not just your favorite parts.
Right.
Which is why he was able to become the Shadow,
right?
who he ended up being.
Right. Yeah.
You know, even if you have, like, you know, even if you have your dream job, right? There are always going to be days where, you know, your boss is going to ask you to do something that you're just like, I don't want to do that. You love your job and you love everything that you're doing with it, but there's just one or two specific tasks that you're like, I'd rather not touch that. Right. So even in that's what, so I liken Dorian's view on posing to that. It was just the one task that he was just like, but I guess I'll do it because it's part of the whole thing, but I don't really love it. But I love bodybuilding, and this is a part of bodybuilding, so okay.
Right. And you have to do what you have to do to win. If you want to win, you have to do what you have to do.
Damn right. You know, I don't think Michael Jordan wanted to sit and shoot 300 free throws a day, but
exactly. Right.
You do what you got to do.
Exactly. Is there a show that you've done so far? I'm just going to ask sort of random questions. That was your favorite show for yourself personally, and why?
Man. Woo. There are two that jump to mind, but if you like put a gun to my head and maybe only pick one, I would say it was probably the Eastern USAs that I won the overall in. And the reason why that's my favorite is because that was the show that really changed people's view of me as a bodybuilder. So I went from, oh, you know, he could be good, to, oh, this guy like is probably gonna go somewhere and like do something with this. It really shaped, it changed the way people viewed, even my friends of the bodybuilding community, who were still my friends. They were still supportive, but you could tell that the energy that they spoke to me with was different after I won that show. So I think just the faith that it generated in the people around me, or leveled up their faith in me to a point where they could see where I was going to be now before I did. And just the relationships that win generated for me, and the people I was able to connect with and become friends with as a result, you know, yourself included. Steve Weinberger, actually, that was the show that allowed me to really be able to connect with him and feel comfortable reaching out to him and speaking to him about different things and all of that. Especially like if I went to Bev's, like he would get mad at me if I didn't tell him I was coming. So that show, and then, you know, meeting George, being friends with George, having this little, I don't want to call it a rivalry, but like, you know, he took off so quick in his career after we both turned pro. And I've always felt like I've been kind of chasing that, you know, chasing that level that he was on. And then that was another reason why the Olympia was so important to me, because I felt like I finally caught up. Like, okay, here we are, you know, instead of it being like this, now we're like here.
Right.
So, you know, now we can shift, now we can play and have fun. So that show, that one was my favorite for those reasons.
Very cool. Are there people that you mentioned Steve Weinberger? Are there any other people that maybe we don't realize have been instrumental in helping you tremendously outside of your coaches?
Okay, so outside of the coaches, man, it's really hard for me to just pinpoint one person, just because everybody in my life is responsible for contributing to the uplifting of me as a bodybuilding athlete and just as a person in general. And the development externally and internally that has led me to this point in my life. So I feel like I would be doing a lot of people a disservice by just singling out, just a few. Right. There's just so many. There's so many. I will say this, that since I started competing, I still have like really close friends outside of the bodybuilding world that were there before I kind of decided to embark on this crazy journey and are still there now. But I would say 95% of the friendships and relationships that I have with people now are a direct result of my decision to continue bodybuilding. And they're all within that community, people that I would never have met or been connected with otherwise. So bodybuilding has given me a lot, and all it required of me was to just stick with it. And then opportunities that I've had to pay it forward to other people that are coming up and going through the journey that I went through. Now I have the opportunity to do that. Now I'm like in the middle. I'm like, I'm in this weird place where like I still have people and mentors and current athletes that I look up to, but then I also have people who I can reach down and pull up. That's as great. Well.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I really I cherish that greatly, being in this position.
That's great. Do you have people, were there athletes who were inspirations to you that are no longer competing, perhaps people who you looked up to as you were starting your journey?
I can tell you one person in particular. I'm sure I'm like 95% certain you know who he is. Marco Rivera? Of
course, yes.
Yeah. I met him my first year competing. He was attending the New Jersey State Championship. That was one of the shows that I got last in. And he pulled me to the side after the show and he was like, dude, like, I understand that you placed last, but you have, I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, I think it, maybe it's your shape, maybe it's your presentation. I don't know what it is, but you have something that these other guys don't. You're going to be something. And he was the first pro athlete that like really genuinely saw something in me and saw the potential that I had. And he invited me, like I would go to Star Fitness in the Bronx to go train with him like once every other week per his invitation, just because he wanted to invest in me and just help me grow. So if there was one, I would have to say, if there was one athlete in, regards to your question that has really contributed to me and invested in me the most, it's Marco.
That's very interesting. Yeah. He's a great guy. I don't know him super, super well, but I know him enough to know he's a great guy. Marco, he's someone, if he was a professional wrestler, like, and I was the promoter, I would cast him as a bad guy. He's got a heel look.
He's a heel. He's a heel.
But then the thing is, as soon as you start talking to him, you're like, wow, he's super nice. He's super nice. Cool. He and his wife are both really great people.
I think one of the most memorable things, kind of like coming full circle moments for me, was arriving at the Olympia and seeing him and like the light on his face. Like, dude, like, you did it. Like, like, this is so cool. And he ran up to me, gave me this big hug and like picked me up. He was like, I knew it. I knew this was gonna be you one day. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, because everything just came together in that moment for me. Because again, he was the first athlete that really showed emotional investment in me.
That's great.
And saw what I could be.
That's awesome.
So yeah. Actually, I did my pro debut. I did my pro debut in the same show as him, which was the 2017 New York Pro. That was a really cool moment. So that was like the first like hell yeah, dude, I see you. Like you're making it happen.
That's awesome.
But the Olympia was like,
that's
crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything that you want to cover, talk about, or bring up?
So I have within the next couple days to a week, I have 2 big announcements that I'm going to be making on my social media.
Okay.
At WeaponX _ IFBB Pro. Shameless plug. Involving partnerships with companies that I am going to be undertaking, that opportunities that I got sponsorships.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
and I can't talk about I can't be more specific than that at the moment per request, but so I'm getting my first real opportunities at this as as a professional athlete, and I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
We have our gym, Fam Tampa. So for anyone that is in the Tampa area, please come check us out. There is no gym like ours. There's definitely no bodybuilding gym like ours here in this area. And we have an extremely strong community of people who are not only driven with their own goals, but they are constantly always looking for opportunities to connect with people. And everybody just lifts each other up. Everyone's there to work hard, and everyone's on the same goal, on the same path. And we just have a really strong community of people that are always looking to be better and help each other be better. So come to Fam.
Awesome. And also, if I was again, to go back to what I said about Marco, if I was a promoter and this is pro wrestling, I would probably, and this is for sponsors to listen to, cast you as one of the top baby faces of the company. You're very well spoken. You're highly intelligent. You connect emotionally and intellectually with people, and you're not a bad looking guy. And I would make you one of the
thank you.
top guys. So there you go.
Wow, that was a bunch of loaded compliments. I can't blush, but I could. Thank you.
Stay on for a little bit after I end this, because I want to talk to you about a couple things. But
yeah, of course.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I want to wish you the best of luck for this season. I think you're going to do really well. You probably will qualify at the Indy Pro. I mean, you're that good, and
thank you.
I'm sure you're going to do great at the Olympia this year.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I'm gonna keep doing you guys proud as much as I can.
All right. So thank you so much. So for This is Bodybuilding, this is Michael Bryson, Derik Oslan. This is Bodybuilding. We'll see you around.
This is Bodybuilding. All right. Thank you.
Peace.